Hello, welcome to the short lecture series on the methodology and perspectives of humanities paper. The first topic in this lecture series will be rhetoric. Let's begin by looking at what rhetoric is. J. Cudden defines rhetoric as the art of using language for persuasion in speaking or writing, and specifically in oratory. The classical rhetoricians defined rhetoric as a kind of discourse that influences an audience's opinion in such a way that they automatically agree with the orator's point of view. Now, rhetoric was considered to be quite an important discipline right from the classical era, and it is something that is closely associated with the field of politics. If you look at the contemporary applications of rhetoric, you can see the fields of public relations, marketing, advertising, and law. In all these fields, you can see how rhetoric is still employed. It is commonly believed that rhetoric originated with the sophists. The sophists are pre-Socratic philosophers who favored the use of rhetoric. Much later, Aristotle, the famous Greek philosopher, in his work Rhetoric, focuses on how a successful orator can sway the public opinion in his favor. Later, Quintilian, the Roman philosopher, talked about how rhetoric has a moral basis. He emphasized the ethical application of rhetorical training. So according to Quintilian, rhetoric is the art of a good man skilled in speaking, and the perfect orator, according to Quintilian, would be one who is virtuous, one who is publicly minded, one who is politically active. And Cicero again advocated this notion of an ideal orator, somebody who is really good in all branches of learning. Now, if you take the ancient philosophers, you will see that Plato is the one philosopher who disapproved of rhetoric, because Plato saw it as a form of flattery that was primarily intended to manipulate the ignorant masses, and therefore Plato questioned its moral basis. Now, these are just a few writers and scholars who are primarily associated with the study of rhetorical discourse during the Middle Ages. Erasmus and Juan Luis Vives, Francis Bacon and Thomas Hobbes, they are primarily writers who promoted the rhetorical style, the discipline of rhetoric. And in modern times, rhetoric is primarily associated with the communication studies departments, and these are a few of the modern rhetoricians: Kenneth Burke, Edward Black, and Krista Radcliffe. So I've listed out a few works that are associated with rhetoric. These works are from the classical era: Aristotle's Rhetoric, Quintilian's Institutio Oratoria, Cicero's De Invertione, Cicero's De Oratore, and Longinus's On the Sublime. Let's look at the parts of a rhetorical discourse. Rhetorical discourse is systematically, categorically divided into 5 constituent parts. The first part is invention. Second one is disposition. Third is style. Fourth is memory. And the fifth one is delivery. So invention or inventio means the finding of relevant material, suitable arguments or proof that you need for your discourse, that you need for your rhetorical discourse. Disposition or arrangement. Disposition or dispositio means arrangement. You arrange the material that you have collected into coherent units, into clear units. And the third part, style, indicates the suitable means of presentation. Style is also known as elocutio. It means how you present, how you suitably present the matter that you have arranged. And style also includes the choice of words and verbal patterns, the vocabulary basically. There are various kinds of styles, like the grand style, the middle style, the low or the plain style. And then we have the fourth part, memory or memoria, which deals with the memorizing of speeches. You really couldn't take a piece of paper and just read it from there. You had to memorize all these points and then give a speech. And the final part is, the final fifth part is delivery or actio, which explains how you make the speech, the technique of making a speech. So these are the 5 parts of a rhetorical discourse. Now let's take a look at another type of rhetorical discourse that is based on the 3 kinds of oratory. Now, which are the 3 kinds of oratory? They are deliberative oratory, forensic oratory, and epidemic oratory. Let's take the first one, deliberative oratory. In this kind of oratory, the speaker tries to convince the audience about issues that relate to public policy. So according to the stand taken by the orator, the audience can either approve or disapprove. For example, matters in a legislative assembly. Now, such issues are primarily related to a larger group of people rather than to a particular individual. So here it is something that is concerned with public policy rather than a matter that deals with an individual's fate. So this is what is known as deliberative oratory. The second type is forensic oratory, which concerns a person's actions. And the speaker or the orator can influence the audience to take either an approving stance or a disapproving stance. For example, a judicial trial, where most often it is primarily the fate of an individual that is being decided. The third type of rhetorical discourse is epidemic rhetoric, which is also known as display rhetoric. And this is typically employed on ceremonial occasions to elaborate on the merits and demerits of a person or a group of people. And the orator here is basically trying to highlight his rhetorical talent. I hope all of you understood the short lecture on rhetoric. Thank you.